Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today we are reviewing 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. Look how gorgeous this book is. It's so beautiful. I don't have any other books on my shelf that are this kind of color. If you look at my bookshelf, it's so dark. And then you look at this and it's really bright and cheerful and just happy. You've got the gold writing on the spine there. And in the back you've got all these little golden stars and these golden leaves. So beautiful. And then if I take off the sleeve, the book itself is a creamy white with gold embossed on the spine there. It's just so beautiful. I actually pre-ordered this book from Mr. B's Emporium in Bath, and the one thing that upset me was this was pre-ordered. It wasn't even on the shelves, and yet this is a 4th edition. It was pre-ordered and I still didn't get a 1st edition. And some of the 1st editions, they have cranes down the side here. I was so close. I pre-ordered, but I obviously didn't pre-order it early enough to be on the very first print. Mr. Beast had to email me when it was released to say that they had to wait for another order to come in because the book had been so popular. It's my fault. I should have pre-ordered it as soon as I saw the first advert with this gorgeous cover on it. I didn't, and therefore I missed out on a 1st edition and the cranes. But the normal hardback edition is still so beautiful, and as always with hardbacks, it has the easy big writing, which is just nice. It also has inside this gorgeous map of the Kingdom of Kiata. So beautiful. And it's got a rabbit on the moon. Oh, the start of each chapter, you have these beautiful feathers on the top. It's just very nicely formatted and printed. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. If you do like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up at the end. Every follow and like really means a lot, so thank you guys so much if you already have. This book has a couple of reviews on the front. The first one is by Stephanie Garber, who, if you haven't seen, I have done a review of her Caraval series. The link is above if you haven't seen that. But she says this book is dazzling. And then there's another one which is from Kristen Cashaw, who is the author of Graceland. I haven't read that yet, but I really need to. And they've said magic, which I do agree. Now, before I review this book, I'll read you guys the blurb. It does have a little bit on the back, so I'll read that first. Princess in exile, a shape-shifting dragon, 6 enchanted cranes, and an unspeakable curse. It will take more than magic to find their way home. And on the back, it's even got the old style temples and the mountains and the sakura trees. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'll read you guys the blurb. Shiori Anma, the only princess of Kiata, has a secret. Forbidden magic runs in her veins, and on the morning of her betrothal ceremony, Shiori loses control. At first, a mistake seems like a stroke of luck, forestalling the wedding she never wanted, but it also catches the attention of Rakama, her stepmother. A sorceress in her own right, Rakama banishes the young princess, turning her brothers into cranes, and warning Shiori that she must speak of it to no one, for with every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. Penniless, voiceless, and alone, Shiori searches for her brothers and uncovers a dark conspiracy to seize the throne. Only Shiori can set the kingdom to rights, but to do so she must place her trust in a paper bird, a mercurial dragon, and the very boy she fought so hard not to marry. And she must embrace the magic she's been taught all her life to contain, no matter what it costs. It does have another review on the back by Kerry Maniscalco, who is a New York Times bestseller of The Kingdom of the Wicked, and they say it is an unputdownable, sweeping fairy tale. I really enjoyed this read. It's very fairy tale, as one of the reviews states. It's written in the first person, so you really get to know the characters. You really feel like you're there. I mean, I was really invested in what was happening to these guys. I was surprised that it sucked me in so well. I couldn't put this down. Lovely, lovely story and very well written. In this review, I'm actually not going to give you guys any spoilers, and I'll explain why in a bit. The first thing I want to talk about with this book is chapter 1. Now, if you haven't seen my video to prologue or not to prologue, Elizabeth Lim has done the same trick as J.K. Rowling. However, for me, it falls short because this is a prologue. Unlike J.K. Rowling's, where the prologue is something that happens in the past, this one is something that happens later on. So you already know part of what's going to happen in the very first part of the story, which I know it's not a dead giveaway. It's basically the start of everything happening. But it really annoyed me because if you have watched my video on prologues, I don't like prologues. I can't help it. If you can't tell it in the book itself, is it honestly needed? It's just telling the reader something, or you're worried that your first chapter isn't gripping enough and therefore you've put a prologue in just to grasp the reader because they want to get to that part of the story. For me, the first chapter, as in the actual first chapter, not the first chapter that is written as chapter 1 but is a prologue, is good enough as it is. I don't need the prologue to get me interested in this book. Little rant over, but really the prologue is not needed. It is still written really well, but I didn't need the prologue. Why? On page 183, there is a beautiful quote, which for once with my quotes is not a spoiler, and it is, "I started mining my memory." This is a really beautiful metaphor for her searching through her memories. I just really liked it. It's not like searching the memories, it's not looking through or watching the memories, she's mining them, which is just, I've never heard it described that way, so I really, really enjoyed that. On page 81, it says, "As of now, your past is no more. You will never speak nor write of it." I do have one thing. She cannot speak, but this quote must just mean she cannot write about her past, but she can write, because later on she does start to write to communicate with people, but she can't write about her past, which is quite an important thing to register from that quote. Now, the reason I'm not actually going to do any spoiler review is because honestly, after page 183, I didn't write any more quotes down because I was just so sucked into the book. I got carried away, similar to when I read Dread Nation, which if you haven't seen my review on that, the link is above. I barely wrote anything down about that book because I just enjoyed the story so much and was so invested in the characters, which is exactly what has happened with this one. I could not put this down. There is one part at the end which honestly brought a tear to my eye, but I don't want to tell you guys anything about the plot because it is a fairy tale. It's very standardized, you know, you can kind of guess what's coming, but then at the same time you can't because it's a modern fairy tale. So although it is set in an old world time, Shiori as a female lead character does not act like the old traditional fairy tales, thankfully. She is far more independent and powerful and just generally badass that she just gets on with it, which is so refreshing to read. That is honestly it. In my notes, I didn't even attempt to work out what Elizabeth Lim was doing because I was honestly just enraptured in the story. So I do apologize for this very short review, but I would give this book 10 out of 10 and would highly recommend anyone who wants to read a young reader's book and just escape the modern world and go into a fairy tale land with dragons and magic, then read this book. It's honestly, I thought it wasn't going to grip me when I first started it. I wasn't convinced, especially because of that chapter 1 prologue, but by the end I could not put this book down. I loved it so much. I was so invested with the characters. Just read it. And that's it for probably be my shortest book review of any of my book reviews so far. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. I post general bookish pictures, as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!